Caleb checked his cufflinks at my kitchen counter. He didn't look at me when he said it. Like the words were a grocery item he could toss in the cart without noticing the price. Mom moved the start time up, he added, smoothing his tie down the center of his shirt. So I'm heading out early. I was rinsing a mug. The water ran hot over my knuckles. Moved it up for what? He shrugged. A practiced shrug, small, tidy, no conflict invited. People are coming from out of town. Okay. I set the mug on the drying mat. What should I wear? That was when he paused. Just long enough for me to see it. The quick calculation. The decision to go with whatever caused him the least friction. He exhaled through his nose, the way he did before a difficult email. Vesper, my name, softened. A warning disguised as affection. It's family only, he said. You know how Mom gets. She wants just the immediate family there for Mason and Brooke. Immediate. Family. Only. The kitchen light stayed the same. The air didn't change. But something in my chest shifted like a floorboard giving way. I'm your wife, I said. It came out calm, almost curious. Caleb's jaw tightened. I know. But it's not about you. It's about them. Mom's just trying to keep it simple. Simple. He said it like exclusion was a logistical preference. Like I was an extra chair he didn't feel like carrying. I wiped my hands on a towel. My pulse stayed steady, which surprised me. The part of me that used to plead, used to explain myself, negotiate for basic respect, had gone quiet. How long has it been family only? I asked. He avoided my eyes again. Since it became an engagement party. Since when is it an engagement party? He turned slightly, as if the hallway might offer him a better answer. Since last week. I stared at him. Last week. I looked at the fridge calendar out of habit. A pale blue square marked for Saturday had a neat block of text in my handwriting. Mason plus Brooke dinner caterer confirm, flowers, my pen, my handwriting, my schedule. I had written it because his mother had texted me sweet as sugar, clipped as a receipt asking if I could help coordinate a few details the way I always did. Coordinate. Translation. Do the work. Pay the deposits. Make it look effortless. Disappear when the photos happened. Caleb checked his watch. I'm running late. I let a beat pass. So, you're going without me? He gave a short nod, like we were agreeing on a meeting time. And you didn't think to tell me until... Right now, it didn't come up, he said, and his voice hardened, defensive. And again, it's not personal. It's just my mom. It didn't come up. Like my presence in his life was a setting he forgot to turn on. I leaned my hip against the counter and folded my arms. Do you want me there? His mouth opened, and for a second I saw the truth scramble for an exit. Then he picked the safer door. I don't want a scene, he said. So there it was. Not yes. Not I wish you could come. Not you should be there. Just don't embarrass me. Something cold and clean settled over my thoughts, the way it did when a contract went sideways, and I had to stop feeling and start reading the fine print. I nodded once. Okay. Relief flashed across his face quick, guilty, almost imperceptible. Thank you. He reached for my cheek like we were fine. Like I should accept a pat on the head for being low maintenance. I stepped back before his fingers made contact. He paused, irritation flickering. Vesper. My voice stayed even. Go. You're late. He hesitated, then grabbed his jacket. At the door, he tried one more time to smooth it over with gentleness. I'll bring you some cake, he said. Cake. An apology in frosting. He left. The latch clicked. The house returned to its quiet hum. Refrigerator, distant traffic, my own breathing. I stood there for a full minute, hands on the counter, staring at the pale blue square on the calendar. Not because I didn't know what was happening. Because I did. And knowing it meant I had to stop pretending. My phone buzzed. A photo notification. I didn't have to open it to understand. But I did anyway. Brooke's story. A glossy boomerang video of her hand in front of a mirror ring flashing under warm lights. A caption in delicate script. Engagement weekend. Under it. Tagged. At Rourke Family Estate. A second story followed. An overhead shot of a floral sample board and handwritten place cards. My breath caught when I saw my own handwriting again. Vesper coordinator. The card wasn't for a seat. It wasn't a name at a table. It was a label. I stared until the screen dimmed. Then I walked to the pantry and pulled out the folder I kept behind the cereal. Because in my life, paperwork had always been safer than people. Inside were contracts, deposits, confirmations, my neat stacks, my signatures. And the first thing that fell into my hand like a dare was the event contract. Margot Rourke. Payment method. Vesper H. Harley. Authorized cardholder. My card, my name. My liability. They hadn't invited me, but they had billed me. A laugh tried to form. Not amusement, something sharper. It died in my throat, replaced by a stillness that felt like clarity. Because it wasn't the first time. Not the first time I'd been asked to pour myself into a family that treated me like staff. Not the first time Caleb had stood at the edge of their cruelty and called it just how they are. But it was the first time the line was so clean. Family only. And yet my bank account was apparently family enough. I picked up my phone and opened my email. There it was. A thread with the event planner. Subject line. Rourke engagement final confirmation. Under it, a series of cheerful updates in my polite replies. I read the last message slowly. Hi Vesper. Quick reminder, final payment processes at noon on Saturday. Let me know if you'd like to add the champagne tower. Final payment. Saturday. The party was tonight. Meaning the final payment wasn't for the dinner. It was for the after party. The thing they were so excited about they'd upgraded it without telling me. My fingers hovered above the screen. For a moment, the old version of me tried to rise. The version that whispered, maybe you should just talk to him. Maybe you should be patient. Maybe you should prove you're easy to love. I let that voice say its last sentence. Then I did what I had always done when the world tried to shrink me. I started gathering facts. I pulled up my banking app. 3 transfers from my account in the last month. To Caleb. Labeled, rent, car, mom. I clicked it and saw the note. For the venue deposit. Like you said. My stomach tightened. He hadn't even used his own name. He'd used mine as a pass-through. I scrolled further. Another transfer smaller, tucked between grocery charges. Jeweler. And in the memo line, Mason ring. I stared at it until my eyes stung. I hadn't known. Or rather, no one had bothered to tell me. They'd simply assumed, the way they always did, that I would cover it. That I would smooth the edges of their lives while standing outside the picture frame. My phone buzzed again. A text from Margot. Vesper, quick question. Are you still able to bring the gift envelopes before dinner? We'll have a table set up. Gift envelopes. As if I was the one who worked there. No greeting. No apology. No acknowledgement that her son had just told his wife she wasn't family. Just a task. I looked at the message and felt something inside me click into place. Pain, yes. But beneath it, a clean, sturdy anger. The kind that didn't scream. The kind that built a plan. I set my phone down. Then I walked to my office. Not because I needed to work. Because I needed to remember who I was before I became the woman who made everyone else comfortable. On the wall above my desk was a framed certificate with my name. Vesper H. Harley. It didn't say wife. It didn't say daughter-in-law. It didn't say good sport. It said founder. And that mattered. My laptop woke with a soft glow. I opened a new document. At the top, I typed one sentence. What happens if I stop paying for people who don't claim me? Then I started listing. The mortgage Caleb's paycheck didn't cover. The car he drove under my insurance. The family emergencies that always seemed to land on my credit card. The business contacts I'd introduced him to, the ones who thought he was competent because I stood behind him like a quiet stagehand. And then, last on the list, I typed, engagement party contract in my name. The cursor blinked, patient. I didn't feel frantic. I felt awake. I checked the time. Caleb had been gone 12 minutes, meaning he was probably already on the phone with his brother, laughing in that easy way he never laughed with me anymore, meaning he wouldn't notice what I was about to do until it hit him like a sudden drop. I lifted my phone, and instead of calling my husband, I called the event planner. A cheerful woman answered on the second ring. Hello. Merit Events, this is Corley. Hi, Corley, I said, and my voice sounded like my own again. This is Vesper Harley. I'm calling about the Rourke engagement event. Oh, hi. Yes. Everything's set. We're so excited. Your flowers are stunning. Thank you, I said. I need to make a change. There was a pause. Okay, what kind of change? I glanced at the contract on my desk. Authorized cardholder. My signature. My control. I'd like to cancel the after-party portion, I said. Effective immediately. Silence. Then Callie's voice shifted to careful professionalism. Cancel, tonight. Yes. Is there an issue with the client? The client. I almost smiled. Let's just say, I said gently, the guest list changed. And so did my participation. I need to confirm with Mrs. Rourke, Corley said, hesitant. You can, I replied. But the contract is in my name, and payment hasn't been processed yet. I'm withdrawing authorization. I'll send you an email in writing within the next 10 minutes. Another pause. I understand, she said slowly. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, I added. And I meant it for her, not for them. Okay, she said. I'll put a hold on it and wait for your email. Thank you. I hung up. My hands were steady. My chest, though, felt tender, like I'd peeled off a bandage and exposed skin that had been pressed too long. I stared at the wall for a moment, not thinking about Margot, not thinking about Caleb. Thinking about the fact that this quiet action was the first boundary I'd set without asking permission. I opened my email and wrote the confirmation. Subject, withdrawal of authorization, Rourke engagement, after-party body. Please confirm cancellation of the after-party upgrade and any add-ons. Effective immediately. Authorized cardholder Vesper Harley. I hit send. Then I did the next thing. I opened my banking app, and I turned off the automatic transfers. Rent, car, mom. One by one, I toggled them off as if closing doors. The house stayed quiet. But in my mind, I heard the future shifting. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're from. If this story moves you, please subscribe. Tomorrow I have a special story for you. I didn't text Margot back. I didn't call Caleb. I let the silence do what it was meant to do. Reveal who panicked first. 5 minutes later, my phone rang. Mason, of course. I stared at his name until it stopped. Then it rang again, and again. I let it go to voicemail. My hands moved on their own, switching into a mode I knew intimately. A decision is only as strong as its paperwork. I pulled a thin binder from my desk drawer labeled personal. Inside were documents I'd quietly kept updated. Copies of account statements, property records, a list of assets and liabilities. Not because I'd expected to leave, because I'd never felt fully safe. That was the truth I didn't say out loud. Even while Caleb smiled and called me his rock, I'd kept a part of myself braced. I flipped to the last page. A note from my attorney, dated months ago, attached to the annual review she insisted I do. You are allowed to protect yourself. I hadn't known I'd need it this soon. My phone buzzed with a text. Caleb, what did you do? Short, sharp. Not, are you okay? Not, I'm sorry. Just, what did you do? Meaning he'd already heard. Meaning the plan was working. I stared at the message. Then I placed my phone face down. I didn't answer. Not yet. Because the old pattern was this. I'd explain. He'd minimize. I'd doubt myself, and we'd return to normal. I wasn't going back to normal. I brewed tea. The act was almost absurdly domestic water kettle. Tea bag, mug. But it anchored me. I took the mug to the living room and sat on the sofa, legs tucked beneath me, like I was watching a storm through glass. My phone kept lighting up. Margot. Mason. Caleb. A group text appeared. Rourke family. I hadn't been included in that thread since the wedding. And suddenly, I was very necessary. Margot. Vesper. Call me. Mason. This is not okay. Caleb. Answer. Brooke. Is this a mistake? We have guests. Guests. I pictured them arriving in heels and pressed shirts, expecting champagne towers and curated lighting. And I pictured the moment they realized the upgrade was gone. Not because a vendor failed. Because a person finally said no. My tea tasted like nothing. I watched the messages stack. Then my phone rang again. This time it was Corley. I answered. Hi. Vesper, she said, voice tight. Mrs. Rourke is on the other line. She's requesting that I conference you in. Requesting. I almost laughed. Okay, I said. Conference us. A click. Then Margot's voice filled my ear, polished, controlled, the tone she used with employees. Vesper, she said, as if we were simply catching up. There seems to be a misunderstanding. No, I replied softly. There isn't. Silence. She recovered quickly. Corley tells me you cancelled the after-party. Yes. And why, she said. Would you do that without speaking to me? There it was. Not. I'm sorry you were hurt. Not. We should have invited you. Just, you didn't follow procedure. I held the phone away from my mouth for 1 second, breathed in through my nose, and then spoke with the calm of someone reading a contract aloud. Because the event is in my name, I said. And I'm not funding an evening I'm not welcome at. Margot made a small sound, an offended exhale. Welcome. Don't be dramatic. This is for the children. Children. Mason was 30. Brooke was 28. I kept my voice steady. You told Caleb I wasn't invited. I didn't tell him that, she snapped. Then why did he tell me it's family only? A pause that said everything. Margot's voice lowered, turning dangerous in its sweetness. Vesper, you're being sensitive. Mason's engagement is not about you. Correct, I said. Which is why my money won't be either. I heard Callie's swallow on the line, as if she was realizing this wasn't party planning anymore. Margot's tone sharpened. You are embarrassing us. Embarrassing. There was that word again. The fear of appearances. The religion of reputation. And suddenly, I understood exactly what I'd been in their world. Not family. A buffer. A cover. A wallet. I'm not embarrassing you, I said. I'm stepping out of a role you assigned me without consent. Consent, Margot repeated with disdain. Don't turn this into one of your modern lectures. My chest tightened. but my voice didn't change. It's not a lecture. It's a boundary. This is unacceptable, she said. Corley, you will reinstate the after-party immediately. I spoke before Corley could respond. She can't. Margot inhaled. Excuse me? It can't be reinstated, I said, because the card authorization is withdrawn, and the funds that would have covered it are no longer available. That's ridiculous, Margot snapped. Caleb will pay. A new sound entered the line. Caleb, breathing fast. He must have grabbed another phone. Vesper, he said, voice low, urgent, like he was trying to contain me. Stop this. You're making a mess. There it was. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I should have stood up for you. Just, stop. I closed my eyes. It hurt. Not like a stab. Like a slow bruise finally being touched. Caleb, I said quietly. Did you tell your mother I wasn't invited? He didn't answer. Margot hissed. Don't interrogate him. I asked again calmly. Did you? His voice came out strained. She didn't want you there, okay? She wanted Mason and Brooke to have their moment. I thought you'd understand. Understand. That word had been used on me like a muzzle. Be the bigger person. Don't take it personally. Understand. I opened my eyes, and I felt something inside me settle into a firm, unshakable place. I do understand, I said. You chose her comfort over my dignity. Again, Caleb's voice rose slightly, panic bleeding through. It's one party. No, I said. It's a pattern. Margot interrupted, sharp. Vesper, if you continue this tantrum, there will be consequences. Consequences. Like I worked for her. Like she could fire me. I almost felt pity. Because she still believed she had that kind of power. Then let there be consequences, I said. I'm done. Callie's voice returned, careful. Mrs. Rourke, Miss Hale, how would you like me to proceed? I answered calmly. Proceed with the cancellation. Confirm it in writing. That's all. Margot's voice sharpened into a hiss. You are not Miss Harley, you are Vesper Rourke. I paused. And in that pause, I saw my life clearly. My name on their paperwork. My labor behind their scenes. My identity reduced to whatever made them feel entitled. No, I said. I am Vesper Harley. I was Harley before I met you, and I will be Harley after I leave. Caleb sucked in a breath. Leave? I didn't answer him, because the truth didn't need negotiation. I said to Corley, thank you for your help. Then I ended the call. My hands were still steady. My eyes, however, burned. Not because I regretted it, because grieving a marriage is a strange thing. You mourn it even when you re the one who finally stops bleeding. My phone rang again immediately. I let it. I stood up, set my mug in the sink, and went to my bedroom. I didn't start throwing clothes into a suitcase. I didn't pace. I opened my closet and pulled out a small, hard-sided carry-on, the kind you pack when you're going somewhere on purpose. I laid it on the bed and unzipped it. Then I walked to my dresser and opened the top drawer. Inside was a velvet pouch, the one that held my grandmother's ring. Not a flashy stone. Something old, elegant, solid. The only piece of jewelry I'd ever treasured. Caleb had asked once why I never wore it. I told him, it's mine. I hadn't known how important that sentence would become. I put the pouch in my carry-on. Then I opened the drawer beneath. Passports, birth certificate, insurance cards. I placed them carefully into a file folder. I wasn't running. I was organizing an exit. My phone buzzed again. A new message. From Brooke. Brooke. Vesper, I didn't know you weren't invited. This is so awkward. Can you please just fix it? People are here. Fix it. I stared at her words and felt a strange, calm distance, because I suddenly saw how they viewed me. A problem solver. A human bandage. Someone whose feelings were inconvenient and whose skills were expected. One typed one reply. Vesper. I hope your engagement is beautiful. And stepping away. I didn't add emojis. I didn't apologize. I hit send. Then I blocked the group thread. All of them. One by one. The silence that followed was almost startling. Like removing headphones after hours of noise. My doorbell rang. I froze. It rang again. Not a polite tap. A confident insistence. I walked to the door and looked through the peephole. Caleb. He stood there with his jacket still on. Hair slightly messy. Jaw tight. He'd left the party. Not for me. For the mess. I opened the door. He stepped in like he owned the space. His eyes flicked to my carry-on the bed visible down the hallway. His face went pale. What are you doing? My voice stayed calm. Packing. For what? I looked at him. At the man I had loved. At the man who had learned to treat my composure like permission. For leaving, I said. He ran a hand through his hair, exasperated. This is insane. It's one night. It's not one night, I replied. He stepped closer. My mom was wrong. Okay? She was wrong. But you don't punish everyone because she's difficult. Punish. As if my boundary was violence, I kept my posture relaxed. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm withdrawing. He stared. Withdraw from what? Your own marriage? I nodded once. Yes. His eyes flashed, anger sharpening his voice. You're really doing this? Over an invitation? I lifted my chin slightly. Over the truth. He scoffed. What truth? I walked past him toward the living room. He followed, tight and restless. I picked up the folder from my desk and set it on the coffee table. He watched, wary. I opened it. I paid for the ring, I said. He blinked. What? I slid my phone across the table with the transaction pulled up. Jeweler. Mason ring. Caleb's mouth opened. That was, for your brother, I finished. Because you asked me to help. Because you said Mason would pay you back. Because you said your mom would handle the rest. His face tightened. I was going to pay you back. With what? I asked, still calm. He flinched like I'd slapped him. Because the truth was obvious. He didn't have it. He never had. He'd been floating on my stability while telling his family he was the one providing. You didn't even invite me, I said quietly. But you let them take my money like I was a utility bill. Caleb's voice softened, trying a different approach. Vesper, please. You're spiraling. Let's talk about this after the weekend. After. Always after. The future he used to delay accountability. I shook my head. No. We're talking now. He swallowed. Fine. What do you want? I studied him. That question used to sound like a doorway. Now it sounded like a transaction. I want to know, I said, why you agreed to go without me. He rolled his eyes. Because it was easier. Easier. There was an honesty in it that almost made me laugh. Easier for who? I asked. He spread his hands. For everyone. My mom, Mason, Brooke. You know how fragile this moment is. And me? I asked softly. He hesitated. Then he said the worst thing. You're strong, he said. You can handle it. My throat tightened. Because that sentence had been the cage. Your strength used as an excuse to neglect you. Your patience used as proof you don't need care. I nodded slowly. Yes, I said. I am strong. His shoulders relaxed, misunderstanding my agreement as surrender. And then I continued. And because I'm strong, I'm choosing a life where my strength isn't exploited. His eyes widened. You're being dramatic. I smiled faintly. Not warmth, not cruelty, just clarity. I'm being precise, I said. He took a step forward. Vesper. I held up a hand. He stopped. The look on his face was almost comical. He was realizing for the first time that my calm wasn't compliance. It was control. I cancelled the after party, I said. Not to humiliate Mason, not to ruin Brooke's night, but to stop funding a story where I'm invisible. Caleb's jaw flexed. You embarrassed my family. I met his eyes. Your family embarrassed themselves. They simply assumed I'd take it. He scoffed. You don't understand what it's like being in that family. If you go against my mom, she makes your life hell. I stared at him. There it was. The truth he never said. He hadn't excluded me because he didn't love me. He'd excluded me because he was afraid. And he'd been using me as the sacrifice. I understand, I said gently. I just don't accept it. His voice cracked with anger. So what? You're just leaving. You're going to throw away everything we built. Built? We? I glanced around the room. The couch I paid for. The art he'd picked out with my card. The home he claimed as proof of his success. We didn't build this, I said softly. I did. And I let you stand inside it and call it ours. His face reddened. That's not fair. I nodded. Exactly. He looked like he wanted to shout. But he didn't. Because shouting would make him feel like the villain. And he didn't want to be the villain. He wanted me to be the unreasonable woman who ruined an engagement party. I watched him try to find words that didn't sound like what they were. Finally, he said, quieter. Where are you going? I shrugged. Somewhere I'm invited. His eyes darted to the bedroom again. You can't just leave. We're married. I can, I said. He stepped closer, pleading now. Let's not do this. Please. I'll talk to my mum. I'll fix it. Fix it. Always fix it. As if respect was a repair, not a foundation. I looked at him for a long moment, not with hatred, with grief, because I could see how much he wanted the comfort of my presence, without the responsibility of my dignity. I've been fixing it for years, I said. Quietly, carefully, so you could keep peace. He whispered, I didn't ask you to. I nodded. That's the problem. He stared. And in his eyes I saw something shifting: panic, realization, the fragile sense of entitlement cracking. He tried again. If you go, you're going to regret it. I smiled slightly. I regret staying longer than I should have. He stood there, breathing hard. Then his phone buzzed. He glanced down. A message from someone at the party. His eyes widened. What? I asked. He didn't answer. He just read. His mouth tightened. Tell me, I said. He swallowed. Mum, she's furious. She's saying you're ungrateful. She's saying you've always tried to make everything about you. I nodded slowly. There it was. The narrative. The one they'd been waiting to use. And what did you say? I asked. He hesitated. And that hesitation told me enough. I picked up my carry-on and zipped it fully. Caleb stepped forward. Vesper, don't. I walked past him. He grabbed my wrist. Not hard, not violent. Just the reflex of someone used to stopping me. I looked down at his hand. Then I looked back up. He released me immediately, as if my gaze burned. I opened the front door. The night air touched my face. And I felt something that startled me. Relief. Not happiness. Not triumph. Relief. Like taking off a coat I'd worn too long. Caleb's voice came from behind me, raw. Where is this coming from? I paused at the threshold. I didn't turn around. It's been here, I said. You just didn't notice because I carried it quietly. Then I walked out. The The first place I went was not dramatic. I didn't run to a friend's couch in tears. I went to a hotel. A clean room with crisp sheets and silence that belonged only to me. At the front desk, the clerk smiled and asked, "Name?" I said, "Vesper," and the way she typed it without hesitation felt like a small restoration. In the elevator, my phone buzzed again. A new number. Unknown. I almost ignored it. Then my instinct's sharp train told me to answer. "Hello?" A woman's voice. Calm. Professional. "Vesper?" "Yes. This is Nadine Patel. I'm calling from Sable and Finch LLP. Your attorney, Marin Sato, asked me to reach you." My chest tightened. "Is something wrong?" "No," she said. "Something is timely." Timely. I gripped my phone. "Okay. We received a request," Nadine continued, "from a representative of the Rourke family. They're asking about the event contract and about certain financial arrangements." Of course they were. They'd noticed the missing money.